Did you catch the northern lights? We're going to talk about how they may have impacted farming, plus the latest WASDE data from USDA and a lot more on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast, which starts right now.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
Show is.
Howdy, howdy.
What's up?
Happy Wednesday afternoon, or if you're listening, it is a happy Thursday afternoon to you.
Yeah.
We're playing with time.
It's magic.
Everybody here is pretty busy this week, so we had to sneak in here on late Wednesday afternoon before Matthew hits the road and knock this episode out.
Yeah.
So there you go. How is it? How's everybody's week going?
Good. It's Wednesday, so we're halfway through it.
Yeah. Starting to warm up.
Mm-hmm. It's been a pretty 3 days.
Yeah. We got some rain last night, like
Just
about
a little
8 o'clock at my house. It just started, but like just enough to wet the grass,
Yeah.
and
Wet
the
water the
ground.
plants. And,
Well, I've made the dive into trying to grow or sustain carnivorous plants.
Oh my
in
goodness!
part because our coworker Ashley, who does a lot of the graphic design, as some people will know, keeps going to plant stores, seeing them, taking a picture, texting it to me, and being like, "Hey, do you want this?" And before I can respond, 3 minutes later, she says, "I bought it and I'm bringing it to you."
Oh, wow.
I'm just like, "Yeah, I mean, I did want it."
Yeah,
So
But-
But that all to say, you need rainwater or distilled water, but you're not able to use just tap water. So I've been sticking buckets
that's
outside.
interesting.
So are these like
catch rain.
Venus flytraps?
No,
Or-
they are Nepenthes, which are pitcher plants.
yeah.
So
yeah.
and one of they're both very cool looking. Also, we did a feature video and a podcast back in the day with my friend who Red Barn Carnivores is their business, who sells them, and I just bought one from him that's full grown and it looks crazy.
Cool.
So
How big do they get?
they can get huge.
Yeah.
Some of them are like
You could fall in it?
maybe not me, but there's some of the pitchers that could eat this microphone.
Oh, wow.
So
Small dog.
It all kind of keeps me on edge. I'll be honest. I remember I interviewed him. I did that interview, and it's unnerving slightly, but I think it's fascinating. Not really unnerving, but I think it's fascinating world of plants.
Did you feel like you were getting preyed on or like hunted while you were there by a plant?
No. Luckily, it was over the phone.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but Matthew, there is if you go to the Farm Bureau YouTube channel, you'll see right there, or you can search for it.
yeah.
Red Barn, and find the guy's video. It's fascinating, and the plants are beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, they just happen to prefer insects and whatnot as their food.
It's crazy.
Very, very, very strange world that the carnivorous plants are.
And quite the lucrative business, I'll say.
Probably. I
Well,
would imagine they're not cheap.
They are not cheap.
Some of them,
plants.
you can buy them for $10-$20. Like the ones Ashley's been buying are $5-$10.
Yeah.
But this guy, he has some rarer ones, which everything he does is sustainable, and he's not. There's a poaching problem within the carnivorous plant world in Southeast Asia, and who he sources from does all of their own seeding and stuff like that. They don't. It's all on the up and up on that side. But he recently sold one that was $2,000.
Wow.
It reminds me. Did you ever see that Dennis the Menace?
What am I doing?
Like when we were kids. Did you ever see that Dennis the Menace movie when we were kids?
It's
like
not-
Walter Matthau. And he has that garden party for that orchid like opening. It only opens like once every 10 years. That's kind of what I would totally screw that up.
Oh yeah,
if
well,
I paid
I can't imagine
that kind of money for
What was what's the guy that plays Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? What's that guy?
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis also played in another movie about a carnivorous like alien plant.
Wasn't it Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
What an odd movie, but that's exactly where my mind went when you told me.
Carnivorous plants.
Yeah, carnivorous plants.
It's pretty fun. Pretty fun world. You know, we teased, or I teased, I guess, at the beginning of the show, the Aurora Borealis. I said Northern Lights because I didn't trust myself to get that right.
Yeah.
But just curious, did y'all catch that over the weekend at your place or wherever you were?
No.
Did you know it was happening?
I did not until I got into bed and started scrolling on social media, and then I popped out of bed and went out to the driveway, and could not see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
you were in town then.
Unfortunately, in Little Rock, there was too much light pollution, and it was a little far south for what they were saying.
I don't know. I've seen some pretty cool pictures from like Crossit. Even
Yeah, I heard some people in El Dorado saw it.
Oh wow.
Well, I ended up seeing it. I was at my girlfriend's family's house in Charleston, Arkansas, and got to see him there. I had seen about earlier that day. Actually, Shaylee, we were on a video shoot, and she said, "Keep an eye out. Apparently, the Northern Lights are coming." And I was like, "What? No, whatever."
Yeah.
And then about 9:00, I got a text message being like, "Go outside, go outside." There.
Oh wow.
And sure enough, went outside, and the sky was markedly, pinker than it normally was.
Did you see it like moving and?
Well, no, you really, that's the thing is that I think people don't realize most of what you see online about them moving, that's time lapses. They do move, but it's more like a cloud moving, right? Where maybe on an exceptionally active night, they'd be moving enough to be able to visibly see it. But for the most part, it's a very slow fade and transition.
I saw something about it on Friday, and I thought, no way in Little Rock, or no way. Like Missouri line will probably be max, and we happen to be up in Izard County over the weekend, and kind of got to talking about it. And somebody we were with was like, we're sitting outside and like, hey, look at the sky. It kind of looks, and you could tell it was something. Yeah. But you couldn't tell exactly. It almost looked smoky with a tint to it, know?
Yeah.
And then I don't know who came up with the idea to like put your phone on it. Yeah. But when you put your phone on it, that's it.
Well,
that was the game changer.
It's because your phone, camera sensors detect infrared light at a much different way than our eyes do.
Oh, okay.
And most of the time, there's a filter there. It's called a Bayer filter that's on the sensor, and it stops most of those light wavelengths. But not all of them, and that's why your phone's able to see something your eyes can't. It's because the filter on a camera sensor isn't actually filtering out that light.
But it was enough to say like, it was all that pinkish purple that you probably saw 1,000 pictures of at the beginning. But I was able to see with my naked eye, like, hey, there's some green moving in on this direction or whatever. Pull out the phone, look again, like, oh, clearly it's green over there. So you could see enough. It just wasn't that beautiful, brilliant sort of color that you got through a phone lens.
I feel left out.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was pretty cool.
Now, obviously, the solar eclipse, if you were in totality, I think that was probably cooler. But my girlfriend's mom, who was in Fort Smith the day of the eclipse, which they were 99%. She thought the Aurora Borealis. See, there, I can't even say it. The Northern Lights were cooler than the 99% solar eclipse.
Really?
Totality, I think, is a different ball game.
Sure.
But definitely, kind of I saw lots and lots of people online talking about like a bucket list item, and it really is, and it's something that it's rare in Arkansas.
I've never thought I would see it. Like honestly, you can pay to travel to see it. I just never thought I would, and to be able to see it was cool. And really think about that within a month and 2 days or so, give or take, the eclipse and the Aurora Borealis happening That's pretty cool to think about. But anyway, the reason I brought that up is because you're going to talk a little bit about that. And some maybe some other impacts.
And how the first time I saw it in a movie as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. I do, wrapping that up, I do have a friend who lives in Montana, and she is kind of a amateur photographer too.
Yeah.
And has shared a ton of photos online, and to see it, they can see it anyway at times, and her photos were just incredible. Pretty cool.
Cool.
It looks fake. What else is going on? Anything else cool happen? We talked about carnivorous plants, the Northern Lights being visible.
School's
here in
almost
Arkansas.
out.
School's almost out. My kiddo told me yesterday 10 days left starting today. So,
oh man, we are getting close to summer.
Pools open next weekend. I mean, we'll talk some about
farmers
Memorial Day
markets
next
across
weekend.
the state. I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised if any weren't running at this point.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah.
So-
Matter of fact, the place that we were at last weekend had a little farmers market on Saturday morning, even like as a resort, as like a campground thing. Yeah. They had their own farmers market out there. It was pretty cool. So
I will say, I'm hearing through different sources that strawberries are just about through.
Oh, they're wrapping up.
If you want some fresh Arkansas strawberries, you better get somewhere on Saturday.
Yeah.
This will probably be about the last weekend you're going to get them.
Yeah, once it starts to heat up, they just kind of turn to mush.
You think Barn Hills, or somewhere like you think you need to go to the orchard, or do you think you could get them if you're in town at a farmer's market or something?
I think your best chance is going to be going to the orchard, but some of the bigger farmers markets.
You
need to be going to the source, whether that source be them on a Saturday. But
you might play get in a risky situation where you're buying the same strawberries you can buy at Walmart. So I would go to
the store.
Yeah, not to say that happens at the farmer's market, but it does happen.
I have seen
for resellers. You never know.
And I'm not promoting Barn Hill specifically, but I've been to that Bernice Garden farmer's market in Soma, and he backs that van up and gets out and who
Mr.
you're
Bob.
buying from.
Yeah, Mr. Bob.
So anyway.
I know Cabot Patch. That's another big one. They're running low. So
okay.
Holland Bottoms is another big one over there.
Yeah, Holland Bottoms,
and then I think Saltbox Farms over in Benton Bryant
Saline
area.
County. Yeah.
They're a U-pick, so you could actually pick them yourself.
Oh, nice.
Anyways,
there we go.
I've also heard, and I don't know if I said this in the podcast since I was just on here 2 weeks ago, but peaches are probably going to be early this year, and there's not going to be as many. So
you did mention that.
I've heard that spotty though.
Yeah,
like say northern Arkansas, you're probably not going to have near as much, but maybe in southern Arkansas if you find them that direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I'm going to do with some peaches. So I on Easter got a hanker, and I've been wanting one of these for a long time.
Yeah.
And I may have told y'all about this. Sorry if I did.
Did you get some canned peaches?
No, man. I went and bought a homemade ice cream maker.
Ooh.
I don't know why. I've just been for the past year, I've been like, man, I want homemade ice cream. I want
peach ice cream.
And buddy, I can't wait to dice up some of those peaches in there. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking maybe top it with some crumbled up pie crust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that would hit the spot.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Some homemade peach ice cream.
Maybe a little bit of cinnamon.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
Cobbler ice cream.
Cobbler ice cream.
Yep. That's what I would do at least.
I like
don't
that.
have to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. But anyway, all right. Well, we do have a couple of more, I'll say, official things to cover today. Just a reminder, the 6th annual Arkansas Farm Bureau Foundation Trap Shoot is scheduled for Friday, June 7th, just a couple weeks away.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I want to bring that up is because the deadline to enter is May 23rd, next week.
Yep.
So you got to get in there. If you're interested, you should. Or if you're not interested, if you're on the edge here, you should be interested. This is a fundraiser essentially that allows you to put your shooting skills to the test.
Yep.
And win some awards for that. There's a youth division, there's an adult division, there's a top shooter award. There's awards out there available for this, but it benefits the Arkansas FFA and Arkansas 4-H.
Yes.
Both of their foundations.
Both their foundations. So it's your money's going to a good cause. Not only that, but it happens at a top tier shooting complex.
Man, that place is top notch.
The Arkansas Game and Fish Shooting Complex in Jacksonville.
That's correct.
Sorry,
huge.
Matthew.
I think, John, are you shooting again this year?
I am. I was going to ask you, are you shooting
Yeah,
this year?
so I was going to say, really, the biggest competition is come and see if you can do better than me or McMahon.
Yeah. Step up to the plate.
Yeah,
half
'cause-
the podcast crew is shooting this year.
Yeah.
So y'all got a team. You're putting a team in.
Yep.
Okay.
We got a team together.
and I'm shooting with OMP because no one else in the PR department's gonna.
Yeah, we're not
But
really.
old
Bunch of
Wesson said he would have me again. So. And I'll say this: if you show up and you shoot, and you do better than me or McMahon, we'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
Oh,
So
how about that?
Yeah.
you just gotta come find one of us and tell us, hey.
What if I remember correctly? Was your team name a little not podcast appropriate last year?
No, I think it is appropriate. It's named after a firecracker.
Oh, you weren't going to tell us what?
Yeah,
it
I wasn't going to tell you.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause
okay.
I was going to wait until we won the whole thing, so everybody could hear it over the intercom when Amanda announced it.
But there's a little kink in that plan.
yeah, we
The winning part.
we didn't even place.
Don't worry, I think you did better than my team. For what it's worth.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure the 3 Farm Bureau teams last year were pretty much at the bottom.
Hey,
And we said, hey, it's our event. We can't win it.
yeah.
We might just kind of not be good. But
Yeah.
and we
funny.
lost Brock. Brock Roberts
Oh
up
yeah,
there.
he was a great.
Oh yeah.
He was a dead
participant.
eye.
Yeah.
We've got a new member.
Oh,
Yeah.
Will.
Nope, Jared Garrett.
Oh,
Jared
Jared
Garrett.
Garrett. Okay, yeah.
He's gonna shoot with us.
I thought
Is he a
y'all
crack shot?
mixed with.
I don't know. We're gonna find out.
We'll see.
They
Pressure's
did last
on.
year because last year is Lambert on your team again this
He
year.
is.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
they,
so.
they are mixed.
He tries to still be an honorary member of the commodities team. Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
He can't get too far away.
Once an economist.
I mean,
always an
Yeah,
economist.
yeah.
I want to get Stanley out there shooting, but it's
Good luck.
tough. Yeah.
Good luck. So anyway, yeah, go register. Like I said, the deadline's May 23rd. If you don't know how, call Amanda Williams, but you can also register at arfb.com, our
Yep.
website. Pretty easy. We'd love to have you participate. $500 for a 5-person team to enter. Again, deadline's May 23rd. Jump in there and have some fun. It's always a Friday, generally speaking, knock on wood, some decent weather. I know last year it was raining at the beginning and then cleared up. I think.
I would recommend wearing a hat and bringing some sunscreen though.
Yeah,
always
not a lot of
Yeah,
shade.
it's just
I think.
about that first week when you really start feeling that Arkansas
Yeah,
heat. So,
that heat.
but it's a good event.
I thought we'd also just make note to for you guys to save the date if you haven't already. I know we've heard from the majority of counties who are going to be participating in Officers and Leaders Conference
Yep.
this year. But if you haven't heard or you don't know, July 25th and 26th at the Embassy Suites in Jonesboro, Officers and Leaders. There'll be a lot of, great workshops and speakers there. Lot going on. And not only that, but as O&L wraps up, as we affectionately call it, the Women's Leadership Conference will be firing up on that Friday afternoon. So opportunity really to take in 2 conferences there in Jonesboro. I think it's our first time to host this event in Jonesboro.
Yeah, I think at least in the past decade. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
way in the past, but I'm excited about being in Jonesboro.
Me too.
Different atmosphere, different restaurants to go. Hit up. I see Jonesboro quite a few times through the year, but
Yeah.
it's still nice.
Jason's going back to his old stomping grounds.
Hey, buddy. For sure. There's a pack reception. There's going to be a pack reception in the press box of the football stadium.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be really cool.
We're having our division commodity meetings. Or commodity division meetings.
Yeah.
Nice.
Legislators will be there having a meeting. Topics like the state water plan,
H2A.
H2A, feral hogs.
Maybe not feral hogs.
Okay. I may have made that up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm trying to operate off memory, but a lot of great workshop topics along the way, too. So make plans to be there July 25th and 26th in Jonesboro, Officers and Leaders. And then the 26th and 27th will be Women's Leadership Conference.
Are we going to broadcast? Podcast?
We haven't talked about that, but perhaps we should.
Yeah, we probably will. We usually do it state convention.
Yeah.
And
I think we did it O&L last year, wasn't it?
we won't be from the trade show because we don't have a from the trade show because we don't have a trade show.
Or maybe we could just do it from the press box.
We were in like the picture booth or something last
year.
Yeah. We could do it in
the press box. Would be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we could record the show during.
We could announce a fake football game.
Oh, let's try and do that. I'd be like the guy from Major League.
I'd do my best Harry Carey impression.
Hey, if you were a hot dog. Oh, that's Will Ferrell impersonator too. Never mind. All right, let's move on. Crop progress and quality for the state of Arkansas. Like I said, we are going to come back and talk about that May WASDE report, but I thought you guys might want to know how we're doing on planting season. I saw some corn, speaking of that trip, through Bald Knob and up to Batesville and over. Batesville has got some corn that may be waist high on me.
Really?
Right there on the river, one of those fields that are right there before you cross the river.
Yeah.
I mean, buddy, it's moving.
Yeah, it's coming quick.
So corn planted across the state is 95% done. This was as of Monday, so keep that in mind. We did have a little rain Monday and Tuesday, today, and then we'll have some rain chances back in the forecast at the end of Friday. So this very well could have been moved forward a little bit since Monday. The 5-year for comparison is 89% done, so we're about 6% ahead. 86% of the crops emerged, about 10% ahead of the 5-year average there. Rice planted, we've got 94% in the ground, so keeping right there with corn. Again, the 5-year, 72%. We're way ahead on rice. 81% of the rice crops emerged. Again, the 5-year is 52%. I mean, we're just smoking it, as that goes. Soybeans, we've got 76% of those planted. Usually we don't even have half the crop in the ground. So, again, another category we're
30% higher than we were last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Or over the 5 years, sorry.
59% of the crops emerge. Usually it's half that. You see the theme. And we've been talking about this for the past few weeks, but it really is. We really are moving at a heavy pace. 46% of the cotton crop is planted. a quarter of that almost is emerged. Again, well ahead there. Peanuts, 60% of the crop almost ahead of the 5-year. 22% is emerged. Again, ahead of 5-year there. So we're ahead in every category, both in planted and emerged, ahead of the 5-year. Corn quality, we've already got reporting on that. Nearly 70% of the crops in good to excellent condition. Rice and nearly 80% good to excellent, and soybeans nearly 85% in good to excellent condition. So the crop's looking good. So cross our fingers. Let's keep going. I will tell you, I jinx. I owe the farmers an apology. I believe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said at the rate we were going, we could be done planting by Memorial Day. I don't think that's going to happen. We may be closer than we've been in a long time.
Rice and corn might be done.
Rice and corn could very well be done. Maybe soybeans if everybody's feeling frisky, depending on what the weather does next week. I don't know. 25% is a big deal.
I was thinking to myself, I did not anticipate us being this far ahead.
Yeah.
In planning or getting this much of it done so quickly. Mm-hmm. But then again, I don't know how you would anticipate or not anticipate that.
Yeah, because you're just playing with the weather.
Yeah.
You know, I think we got an earlier start. You know, hey, all the way back to that groundhog, giving us
We're past
an
that.
early spring. So I'm just saying, he said an early spring. We got it. Here we are. We're
Science.
rolling. Science.
we love science.
So
I'll also say, related but not related. As I drove through Northwest Arkansas this past weekend, saw lots of hay bales coming out of fields. So first hay cuttings are definitely happening across the state.
I failed to report on hay quality. I will admit that, but I will tell you, I did look at it, and from what I saw, it looks like we may be in better shape than last year. Not hard to do.
The last 2 years.
Yeah,
hard to do.
We just need some good summer rains in June and July. We don't need a drought this year. So
exactly, or 2 droughts.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like we've had. So,
but the El Nino and La Nina thing
should help us out a little bit.
This is kind of what we talked about when you brought that story, and then we'll move on. It's like an early planting could mean an early harvest, which could mean skirting some of the risk from that La Nina potentially. So that'll be something to watch. But anyway, all right, well, let's get into some news.
Let's do some news.
All right.
So as Jason mentioned earlier, I'm sure some of you noticed the glimmering northern lights in the sky a few nights ago. I did not, like I said earlier, but some farmers across the U.S. did take notice, unfortunately. The northern lights, or aurora borealis, as y'all mentioned earlier, are more or less common names for geometric storms made of bursts of plasma and magnetic fields from the sun's corona. So get a little
sciencey.
Science. Real science, not gopher science. So the storm.
You take that back.
He's sensitive. The storm is what causes the colorful array of lights that are more commonly seen further north of us, or in the north part of the U.S. And upwards into Canada. But last Friday night, people across the country were treated to the uncommon spectacle. However beautiful the event was Friday night, these geometric storms can create detrimental interference to GPS equipment that farmers today rely on for precision planting. For those that do not know, during this time of year, farmers rely heavily on GPS technology to plant their crops with accurate row and seed spacing, along with truly straight rows with no bends or curves to prevent gaps or overlaps. I should also add that these GPS equipments, kind of the beginning of it was kind of auto steer or autopilot of a tractor, right? So they're not having to specifically drive. They're just a captain in the seat, if you will. But the technology has gone so far advanced to variable rate planting and seeding and spraying. However, many farmers across the Midwest and Canada experienced complete GPS signal loss while in the middle of planting. This is given that farmers' reliance on GPS planting across the aforementioned regions came to a complete halt.
Wow.
So due to these solar flares, they interrupted a lot of GPS radio signals. And I don't mean this in any type of negative way, but at this point, it's incredibly inefficient not to use the GPS when planting.
Yeah.
So according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, the first of several coronal mass ejections arrived at Earth midday Friday, and many farmers have reported GPS issues all the way through Saturday. Friday's event was the largest of its kind since 2003, which for me is pretty interesting given this is something that, I have a pretty substantial background in when I was working for John Deere. We always kept this issue in mind, but it never happened.
Oh, really?
So there were other reasons why satellites were interrupted, but we never, although it was talked about quite a bit, we'd never experienced one.
Kind of like
4 years I was there.
The year 2000 scare.
Yeah. So as we move further, some of the research I was doing, people were concerned about what the impact would be to crops going forward. But again, we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay.
But I thought this was pretty cool. Especially that's something that I was always concerned about when I was quote unquote GPSing. But never came to fruition. It was nothing I had to deal with.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff. And like you said, it's not can a farmer drive a tractor.
Yeah.
It's just the efficiencies that come along. And we talk about things like high input costs, low commodity prices are always impacting the bottom line. Well, you count on efficiencies like GPS in your equipment.
Yeah, and in some situations you may not be using the auto steer capability of the GPS equipment, but you are using the ability of it to put out variable rate seeding and planting. So if the GPS goes out, then your spacing and your gaps and all that, row spacing, seed spacing, singulation of seed is all off. So you could have been planting throughout an entire field and maybe not laid a seed down on the ground, or maybe you didn't. You went several hundred feet without putting a seed in the ground. There's no telling. Not saying that's a fact and that actually happened, but that is possible.
It's possible. What about the autopilot in your truck? How's that?
I don't. I had that installed last week. No, I do not have autopilot in my truck.
I just didn't know if you're taking a nap.
No. I have John McMahon in my truck, and sometimes little Tone Tone.
Yeah, that's it.
And solar flares don't mess you up.
No. Sometimes Tone encourages me back there, drive, Daddy, drive.
Yeah, buddy, I like that. I like that.
I just, I want to circle back to you using such a great adjective of glimmering.
Glimmering? Do you like that? I also use the word spectacle.
Yeah. So, keep it up. That's
Thank
all
you,
I gotta
man.
say.
I appreciate that.
I did appreciate that.
I read a lot, so I'm glad to see it pays off. Nothing interesting.
Oh
Just
man, I like it though.
completely irrelevant articles on the internet.
All right. Well, look, we covered the last numbers on planting progress and crop quality a minute ago for the state. But on Friday last week, USDA released its May WASDE report, and there's a lot of data to unpack there. The report is the first real look at the current growing season supply and demand balance sheets. That said, planting is still in progress here in the U.S., although we know we're moving quickly in Arkansas, as we talked about. The data will still be preliminary because we're not done with planting across the country. Looking at corn for the 24-25 marketing year, USDA says U.S. corn ending stocks are up about 4% from last year. However, the current new crop projection is almost 17% below the USDA Outlook Forum that was released in February of this year. With these numbers in mind, USDA projects the average market price of corn to fall to $4.40 per bushel, which is down about 5% over last year. Turning to soybeans, ending stocks are up 445 million bushels from the February estimates. That's a 30% increase over last year.
That's crazy.
That increase has USDA projecting a price drop to $11.20 a bushel, nearly 11% drop from last year. I know. Globally, you see an increase in the projected supply, mostly based on those Brazilian production numbers that we've discussed so often here on the show, and that's kind of what's driving some of that. Plus, a lot of folks moving from corn to soybeans here in the U.S. or just Arkansas, anecdotally speaking.
Yep. They did project a higher acreage of soybeans this year. So.
Yeah. For cotton, though, USDA expects ending stocks to increase over 50% from last year domestically. You heard that correctly, but just 3% globally. The big increase in domestic supplies is driven by a 32% increase in production here in the U.S. Despite the increase in supply, though, USDA says the price will fall just over 2 cents per pound. So not a very big drop considering the big increase in production. Overall, USDA projects lower average farm prices for all 9 row crops listed in their report, bringing renewed pessimism, I would say, for in-farm country here. I'd like to just say thanks to American Farm Bureau for their analysis. We've got a lot going on putting these stories together every week and things like that, and we rely a lot on some of the analysis that they put out and publish. It can be helpful, especially for a guy like me who's not an economist for a living. So appreciate American Farm Bureau for their analysis of the report. As always, it's been incredibly helpful as we bring you guys the latest from this WASDE report.
Well, I wouldn't give yourself such a hard time. I have to write the soybean division update this afternoon, and I have to talk about the WASDE.
Oh, really?
So
maybe that'll help you out a little bit.
Yeah, I've got something I don't have to write. No, I'm kidding. But no, that's pretty interesting. I can only really speak on soybeans, but the price has been going down, but in the last month or two, it's jumped up. Actually, just in the last 30 days, there's been an increase in soybean prices. So it'll be interesting to see. And then also what the weather impacts in Brazil played on corn and soybean production globally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
when the rubber hits the road there. Well, look, we've talked about it every episode this month, but, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and our friends at American Farm Bureau have brought back their Farm State of Mind campaign.
That's right, Jason. A healthy farm or ranch is nothing without a healthy you. And Farm State of Mind program has a lot of helpful resources like the new Together All online community.
Together All is a safe, anonymous, online peer-to-peer community accessible 24/7 and moderated around the clock by licensed mental health professionals. The platform is available to farmers, ranchers, and members of their family who are 16 years or older.
Yeah, all you need to do is set up an anonymous profile to gain access to a network of peers who can listen and offer support. In addition, if farm families need counseling services, those are available for no cost thanks to the Farm Family Wellness Alliance.
To learn more, you can visit farmstateofmind.org or type Farm State of Mind in your search engine. And next week, we'll be bringing a deep dive episode with Brandon Wolf, who's a licensed therapist talking about some of the stresses on the farm. He's also a cattle farmer.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good one.
So keep an eye out for that one next week. All right, let's get back to the news here.
Okay. Well, you know how I love giving some good news.
I like it when you do, too.
It seems like we always give out some bad
Yeah.
news. But grocery store prices in April, what do you think they did?
I know how my grocery bill kind of looked.
Well, clearly you didn't notice that they went down a little bit.
Oh, man. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So in April, the cost of eating at home fell 0.2% after 2 straight months of flat supermarket prices.
Okay.
This in turn helped offset the continued inflation of housing and energy costs. According to the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, over the last 12 months, the food at home index is up 1.1%. Also, USDA is forecasting grocery store prices will increase by 1.2% in 2024, after jumping 11.4% in 2022. Sorry, and 5% in 2023.
My goodness.
Yeah. Higher housing and gasoline prices caused the overall CPI to rise 0.3%. The decline in supermarket prices for April were driven by price drops for chicken, eggs, and milk, as well as broad declines in cost of fruits and vegetables. And some more specific notes or numbers to those specific products. Prices for chicken dropped 0.8%. Beef was up 0.1%. Eggs dropped 7.3%. Milk was down 0.8%, and cheese prices dropped 0.1%.
My favorite line item.
Yeah. It's real cheesy.
Cheese.
However, pork prices were flat and had no change in April.
All right.
The index for fruit and vegetables was down 0.8%, with apples, oranges, potatoes, and tomatoes all costing less in April. Lastly, the index for cereal and bakery products increased 0.6%, driven in part by a 3.1% increase in the cost of breakfast cereals. So what I kind of gathered from this is beef prices are up, and anything that is a continued processed product, like breakfast cereals, the cost for that has gone up. And I would assume that there's more cost incurred in that product than there would be just the raw form of it.
Yeah, well, beef costs not a real surprise considering a lot, the stories that we've reported on with inventory and things like that being a little short. But
yeah, the other thing, eggs dropped. Can you guess why the eggs dropped though?
No.
Remember why they went up? Due to
avian influenza,
lack of supply. But so that tells me is that we're getting more eggs back in the grocery store in the supply chain.
Are you telling me that this is a supply and demand
Could be
issue?
Well, and
that is an assumption that you could make.
I believe there's been several traditional meat poultry farmers that have been converting to egg facilities. So I think that there's definitely something to the supply and demand. More supply means lower prices.
Yep. It's kind of like the farm income projection going down, but you got to think about the last 2 years. They were giving out a lot of government payments.
Yeah.
And this year they're not. So of course, kind of the farm income would probably go down because of that.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
All I know is I need grocery prices to keep going down. So
I agree. 100%.
It costs $30 to buy stuff for a sandwich.
I'm picking up a grocery order this evening, and boy, it's
tough.
I think I've said this here before. When I was living in Stuttgart, I could leave Walmart, and if I had 10 bags, I knew it was $10 a piece. It was going to cost me about $100. But that is not the case.
No,
I'd say you cut that in half.
Yeah, easy.
These days.
Easy.
So, all right. Well, we took good news and made it sad and depressing. So let's.
It's not sad. It just means they can't stop. They got to keep going down.
Yeah. And what you also see there is that they're projecting the prices to go up in the coming year, but it's going up at less of a rate than it has in the past.
Okay. Well, that's good.
And that idea or that thought or sight is we're trending down.
Okay. All right. Well, good to know. Well, listen, my last story of the day is a little different for us. Certainly something that's gaining a lot of attention and interest around the natural state. I told Matthew earlier, I wrote this story yesterday, and then immediately saw like 4 or 5 posts from meteorologists and others around the state about this issue.
Okay.
But I want to give a shout out to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette for the roundup on this story. It's been making a lot of buzz. Yes, I'm talking about the cicada brood ramping up in Arkansas. Yeah, buddy. Anyway, the Demgaz spoke to Extension urban entomologist John Zawizlak, who said, over the next few months, people in the South will witness the emergence of the largest brood of periodical cicadas in the country, spanning parts of 16 states. According to Zawizlak, the insect army, as he called it, which is poised to invade, are still nymphs and in the very last stage of their development. This is so interesting. These insects have been feeding on fluids from tree roots for 13 years, slowly growing and molting underground. They'll make their debut by crawling up and out of the soil when it warms to about 64 degrees Fahrenheit, which we're at, and is softened when the soil is softened by rains. There are 2 broods, and they are only likely to overlap geographically in southern Illinois. The last time this occurred was over 2 centuries ago, coinciding with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803.
You think they took that as like an omen back then?
Maybe so. Oh, I would. We had that
What are
conversation
you
with
saying?
the Northern Lights the other night. We're like, imagine being a caveman and seeing this. Like, no.
Yeah. I think that's very ominous, though, John, to say.
It was just a question.
You know, you're saying that the ones in the Louisiana Purchase, they knew. And
Yeah.
what are you saying is happening this year?
I have no idea. Oh, I get what you're trying to say.
Tell you what, I'd like to say, I still have more story to go. If you guys are
Excuse
open,
me.
if
Please
you guys
continue.
are open to me finishing the
Please continue with your
read
story.
here.
Look,
We'll talk about
banter's half of it.
So if you're looking to track the phenomenon, yes, there's an app for that. According to iNaturalist.org, app users have reported cicadas north of the Ozarks in the Ouachita Mountains, around and east of Jonesboro, and scattered in southern Arkansas around Crossett, Warren, and Camden. It's important to note the adult cicadas pose no threat to people, pets, or livestock. Interesting fact, they don't sting or bite. In fact, mature adults don't even have functional mouth parts with which to bite, according to Zawizlak. Of course, you can get more information from your local extension office or at uaex.uada.edu.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, I saw meteorologist Todd Jacobian post about this. He posted a video from around Bismarck, I think, today. Someone was kayaking and hearing the cicadas and so on and so forth. So I've seen a few different instances.
For those, I mean,
cool.
you've got a dog, right? You've got a dog. Has your dog ever caught a cicada in its mouth?
I believe so.
Then you just buzzing in there.
Oh, yeah.
My dogs would catch them and they come in the house.
That's something you don't really want loose in the house, honestly. Something to that size and proportion.
Yeah. But just a dog sitting there trying to play. No, I don't have anything in my mouth.
Clearly, buddy, I can
going
hear
on.
it. I can hear it. Anyway, all right, Matthew, I think we made it through that.
Barely.
A lot of laughs today. A lot of laughs.
Well, let's get
today.
back to our conspiracy thought on the
What the big
Yeah.
thing? Well, I'll tell you what the big thing is this year.
what's that?
The Arkansas Food Hall of Fame.
Of course
They
it is.
just released
No.
their finalist for their inductees, which I'm going to be honest, I don't quite understand. Some are finalists, but not all are inductees, and how that process works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just look at it as all these finalists are good restaurants that are worth checking out. And just going to just go through a few of them, see if you guys have heard of any of them. One we talked about at the top of the show, or before the show started, I should say, was K. Hall and Sons.
Yeah, buddy.
They've been a finalist a few times, but they're finalists again this year. And
Let 'em in.
Let them in. That's
Hopefully
what
they'll get in. man.
let them in. That Philly cheesesteak you can get there. I mean, it might be the best one in the
It's a
state.
showstopper.
For me, it is.
Yeah.
But
I've never had the Philly, but that cheeseburger is
yeah,
delicious.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Some other Little Rock royalties on it. Faded Rose, one of my favorites, is on there.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
The other big one is Brave New. Peter Brave, his restaurant's
Yeah.
Should have
finalist.
been in there.
Yeah, I don't know how he's on already. That's how
Yeah.
I feel about a lot of these.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, Hugo's up in Fayetteville.
Yeah, the basement restaurant.
Basement restaurant,
buddy.
Their steak sandwich. Whew.
I've never had anything but a burger there.
Same. I've eaten there one time. I had a burger, and the fries, as I recall, were very delicious.
Yeah. They also have a ahi tuna that's pretty good too.
Oh, interesting.
But it's good place to get a basket of fries. Russellville Old South Restaurant, which
burned recently.
Well, yeah, a few years ago burned down, and they're back open, a little different location, but still, they're a good place.
Yep.
I had a hamburger steak there once. It was really good.
Yeah,
At Old South.
Yep.
yeah,
I've
Old
only
South.
eaten there once. Too.
I've always it was a big stop point for me for a while.
Yeah.
They have good breakfast too.
Oh, nice.
One up in my hometown, and maybe where I'm going to get dinner tonight because I'm driving to Harrison after the show today, is Daisy Queen in Marshall.
Daisy Queen.
Yeah, it's just a little dairy bar, but man, they've got good food.
Yeah.
Milkshakes, top tier.
Not to take anything away from Daisy Queen, but I sure am sad that Cream Castle on the way down to Hot Springs closed.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, right. That's not open anymore?
No.
It's gone.
And like out of nowhere, like people didn't even know they were closing.
Oh,
I think.
man.
Yeah.
My grandma always used to take me there.
I love that place.
Anyways,
Sorry.
that's all the ones I'll mention. There's more in the list, and they're all good. Those are just ones I've actually eaten at, and they have several other awards, but the big one is being an inductee into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Arkansas Heritage has been doing it since 2016, which I think that's a good program to have, especially food in Arkansas. I think we've got quite a bit of good places.
Yeah.
So it's worthy of honoring some of them. And yeah.
They also honor restaurants that are no more.
Yeah.
We were
that's
talking
true.
about that
Gone
earlier.
but not forgotten.
And I tell you, Canyon Grill needs to be on that list.
Man, they apparently, which if you follow the Mighty Rib, he's been posting. People keep sending him photos. Apparently, they're doing something there. It's not going to be Canyon Grill anymore, but they keep when they turn the power on for the building. The open sign lights up, and it's been stressing people out.
Dude,
like,
if I was driving by and I saw that sign,
Man.
oh
So
man,
I never ate there.
man,
Really?
you're missing out. You missed out.
When did it
feel like-
close?
COVID.
Yeah, it was right before COVID, and they had just remodeled, hadn't they?
Yeah, they had just kind of. I mean, to an
Remodeled,
extent. Right.
With big quotes, but
But
Yeah.
what happened is, what I was told, one night we went to Buffalo Grill down in Riverdale and was told basically they kind of had to consolidate staff during COVID. And for one reason or the other, everybody sort of ended up at Buffalo Grill and they just didn't have enough to bring it back open. People are nuts about it. I love it.
Yeah.
Chicken nachos.
Those
you
nachos.
name it. Here my suggestion, and I have given this to Kevin Mighty Rib personally, is that Buffalo Grill should do a Canyon Grill night once a month or something because they're owned by the same folks.
I didn't know
and
that.
Just do a
Different
Canyon
cuisines.
Grill night.
Yeah.
Anyway,
one of the gone but not forgotten this year is Juanita's, which that's a classic.
Yeah.
I
Good
went to several shows in the
yeah.
Juanita's
Yes, sir.
building, which is
Stinky Gringo margaritas.
yeah.
Is
I
that
will say
Juanita's Chicken Shack or Sticky?
No,
you're thinking Stickies. No,
okay.
but Juanita's was down there. There's an Argentinian restaurant there.
Yeah.
Which that place is Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires. Yeah,
It's very good too.
I saw
but-
Joe Diffie in there one time
in when Juanita's moved downtown or when they were
when
on
they
Main
were at
Street?
that Argentina
Oh yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Huh.
Yeah.
Joe Diffie.
Joe Diffie.
Well, how about did you wear a cowboy hat?
I did not. No.
Well, listen. That wraps up the news for this week. Thank you for following along with the Arkansas iCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch and listen.
Remember, you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube, and listen to the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts.
And make sure to subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes. The Arkansas iCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown.
And I'm John McMinn.
And we'll see you next week.
And I'm Matthew Magdefraud.
See ya.